Hello. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to do this training for you. Luna has gone out with her daddy and I've got some headspace. Amazing. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? You know, these myths of like trying to do all the things, or I just built my multi-global business whilst my child played trains under the table. I mean, it's just not realistic, is it? Anyway, today I am talking about money and goals because we're coming to the beginning of quarter 4. So October until Christmas. This is usually a really good quarter for me because people get that momentum. They're like, okay, 2020, let's do this. There's a lot of stuff going on in acting worlds as well, speaking, thinking about the new year ahead. I mean, of course, like 2020 has just been a mad old year, hasn't it? So who knows what will happen. But I wanted to talk about how I set money goals. And the reason I want to talk about this is that everybody on the internet at the moment, it seems, are talking in these very sort of abstract figures. So 10K months, or 6-figure launches, or 7-figure years. And they are amazing, phenomenal, exciting numbers. And I want to start by saying it's really important that we see examples of this, especially as women, especially as mothers as well. Nobody really spoke to me about money. Nobody, certainly at the beginning of my career, assumed I would make any, because it was all very much at that stage about being a creative and loving what you do. But do you know what? You can love what you do and get paid as well. Mic drop. There it is. So I want to explore, though, those marketing things a little bit more, because I'm not saying they're dishonest by any means, but I want to know more details. And always the kind of curious person in me wants to know more, wants to know how they did it, or what does that mean? Is it turnover? Is it profit? Did they have other things in place? Because it can look really jazzy in terms of a lead page or something like this, like join to get my 10K launch or whatever it might be. Like, that looks really jazzy, but what did that take? What were the expenses that you had? What was the investment of the time? Did you not sleep for a fortnight so you could do it? So that aside, I want to talk you through how I set money goals. And it's quite different, I guess, in terms of, like, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial advisor, and having watched this, you might want to get some additional support or think about different ways of doing that in terms of your business. I just want to say that up front. But from a place of actually making moves and starting to get more money into your business, into your company, your brand, however you like to refer to yourself, I thought I would share a methodology that I use time and time again. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to use the number 10. And that's not what my goal is, but I'm going to use 10 because we all recognize what that number is. So say, for example, my number was 10, that by the end of the year, so by the end of this quarter, I want to make 10 of something. The first thing that I would do is I would write down the 10 reasons why I wanted to do that. This, I know, probably harks back to being an actor and my training. And even though this is the funny thing, right? So when I'm playing characters, I love playing completely against who I am as a person. So I love playing those really edgy, raw, I was going to say unhinged, but maybe I don't mean that, but quite extreme characters, basically. I love connecting with that. But there's the word. I need to feel connected to that. I need to find that way where I can make it feel authentic to myself. And I do that with money goals. I have to feel like I'm connected to the goal. Otherwise, it's just a random figure. And the first thing I do, using that example of the number 10, is I write down 10 reasons why. Why do I, and you would change that number depending on what the number is that you want to bring in. But I would write down in really good detail what that looks like and feels like, and why I'm feeling like that urge right now, that now is the time to do that. Because I want to say this, when I set these goals, quite often they feel out of my comfort zone. Quite often they feel like, how am I ever going to do this? What does this look like? How will I ever get there? Sometimes I don't always know the how. Hello, if you're joining. So I really have to, trust that there's a kind of a plan along the way. So I take those 10 reasons and I explore why I want to do it. So now at this point in my life, it feels quite a significant time because I moved to London 20 years ago. And I know in terms of setting those goals and the timing of things in 20 years and all the rest of it, it's quite an emotive time for me. So I'm feeling very reflective. I'm feeling like I'm contemplating. I'm slightly in the Samantha Jones from Sex and the City, the coulda, woulda, shoulda type situation, and just analysing my path up until this point. And I know because a lot of that 20 years brings up emotion, I'm using it in terms of connecting with my money goal. So there may be something that's cooking and going on for you at the moment that you may want to use for you. This next thing that I do, so firstly, 10 reasons why. The second thing, 10 things that I want to do with that money. So I go into real detail in terms of what am I actually going to do with that money, because otherwise it's just an abstract figure. And I know, of course, we need to all pay bills and do all of that jazzy stuff. But ultimately, I'm not here just to pay bills and live a mediocre, okay life. I'm actually here to A, make a difference, and B, really enjoy my life. So, and help lots of people and all the rest of it. So I start to open up those possibilities of what would I actually do with that money? Like, if I had a choice, where would I go? What would I spend? If opportunities started to present themselves, and opportunities, then what would I do with it? And I start to get really expansive in that moment and start to open up what I would actually do with it. Because people always say this, don't they? Money needs a purpose. Otherwise, it'll just sit in your bank account or it will never materialize at all. The next thing that I do, using this number of 10 as an example, is I explore 10 ways that I could make this money. And what I do is I start to look at my pricing menu. So I might look at something and I go, right, this thing sells for 1, so I would need 10 of those to be able to reach my money goal. Or this thing, it sells for 5, so I would need to sell 2 of those things. So really understanding all the different types of ways that you could make this money will start to show that actually there are so many different opportunities. Because what usually happens, especially with goal setting and especially with my clients, is they go, oh my goodness, that's so exciting, I definitely want to do it. But what if I can't? What if it all goes wrong? What if I have to move back in with my parents? What if I have to tell the world that I tried this thing and it didn't work out? So usually, we need to talk about money. Yeah, absolutely. There's usually that kind of 2 sides of the same coin. So if you can think about 10 different ways, and actually my number, for the sake of things, is quite a lot bigger. And I got to about 70% of doing that number, and I was like, oh, I've run out of ideas. There's no way I could make money in any kind of other shape or form. And I actually went on a run this morning, and then I came back and I was like, oh, I could do it in that way. Oh, somebody was asking me for that. Maybe there's this opportunity. And we have to look at possibilities. And you might actually be leaving money on the table, because somebody might be asking you questions, for example, in your direct messages on Instagram, or messaging you on LinkedIn, or maybe, not that we're going to loads of weddings or anything at the moment, but down the pub, a friend of a friend, somebody might be like, how do you do that thing? Maybe there's an opportunity, maybe there's something that you need to create that solves a problem and provides a solution to somebody. The fourth thing that I do, which really gets me into this zone of possibility, is I look at different ways that I've seen this money being made before. So over here in the UK, the tabloid culture absolutely loves to share numbers, and in quite a grotesque way, like so-and-so went to this famous nightclub in London and they spent 20 grand on champagne. It's interesting. So say 20 grand, and then I was thinking about 10, for example. It could be that actually somebody just dropped 20 grand willy-nilly on some champagne, didn't think anything further of it. That was it. So if that money is there and available for somebody to do that, maybe it's possible for you to do what your number is in a month. So thinking about the ways that you've seen this before. One example that I gave very recently was to look at what you've seen around you. So I figured out recently that the number that I had in my head, and that was for the month, I knew somebody that made that number, not only made that number, but double that number in 2 days. So I figured out that if I just worked at that same thing, one day per month, I would reach my monthly figure based on that. And that's when I started to think, hang about, like there's so many different opportunities. There's so many different ways of thinking about it. And especially at this time, especially at this time, we can feel like we should give up, we should stop, we should retract, we should play small, we shouldn't go for things. But actually, there's opportunity. There's stuff that you can be doing. There's stuff that you could share with people that would be really really useful. The final point to this, so we've got 10 reasons why you want to make this money, 10 things you're actually going to do with it, 10 ways you could make it, 10 situations you've seen this being done before, and the final thing, 10 ways you could stop yourself. So I want to encourage you to start to notice what you do. So what you do when you push yourself, when you say, right, I'm going to do this, and it makes sense on paper, and you've done the plan, and you know what's cooking, and you know what you need to do, and everything starts to fall into place, but there's something missing. There's something that's holding you back. And you might see this in your behavior or your patterns of the way you talk to yourself. Or you say that you're going to do something, and then still on day 4, you still haven't done it. So one of the things that I did this morning was I set my alarm early because I wanted some time to wake up, to do what I needed to do before children woke up. Did I feel like waking up when that alarm went off? No. And I had to have a stern word with myself where I immediately went to snooze it, and I just thought, no, because that's going against what I said that I was going to do. And actually, it's these little incremental moments, it's these little choices that will get you closer to where you want to. I know we all grew up with 90s makeover shows where you'd go behind a curtain, and 30 seconds later you would turn and everyone would go, oh my goodness, she looks so different. Wow, oh wow, look at the difference. But for the most part, if you're going for a goal, if you're going for a stretch in some ways, you're likely to need a bit more time. You're likely to not necessarily have that overnight success. So it's thinking about how can you make those small incremental moments. Is something moving you towards your goal or further away? So something that might happen with 10 ways that you could stop this, or you could delay this in terms of money, is that you might get on, I don't know, the second day of the month and you're like, right, I haven't made any sales. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm behind. I shouldn't be doing this. No way. No way is this going to happen. And suddenly you start to shrink. You start to bring yourself to a place where you're like, no, I was wrong to do this. Maybe, no, it's not going to happen. And certainly as well, I know one of my things is I start to overcomplicate things. I start to go, well, I've got to do this and I've got to have this perfect and I've got to redesign this whole thing and I've got to reinvent the wheel and I've got to do all of these things. For the most part, no, I don't. I just need to do more of the things that I say that I'm going to do. I need to get more visible. I need to show up. I need to really serve. I need to serve my existing clients, because I said this a little while ago, that actually my current clients are usually my next clients, or my current clients' friends. That's really hard to say. My circle of people I work with is actually really small. I don't need tens of millions of people to do that. I mean, it would be nice maybe later down the line, but I actually don't need that for my business to be profitable. So that's my money chat today, about thinking what is going on. And I would say absolutely get inspired when people are talking actual figures and how they did something in 24 hours or whatever it might be. But also, don't let that stuff stifle you. You will have your own goals, your own ways of working, your own exciting things, cooking and moving and shaking and all that good stuff. A couple of things I would love to share. If you're thinking about your pricing menu and you're like, I'm just not sure if this is working, or your packages need looking at, come on over, book a free 15-minute strategy session. You're more than welcome to do that. I'll leave the details down below. Or you might want to get so good, I have to focus on the needle movers before I see any results. So easy to get busy. Yeah, absolutely. What do you do? Tell me more. Yeah, and I think really I've got a £20 training on designing your pricing menu. And this is a good way of looking at what is on your menu. And for me, having a comprehensive different price point situation really helps in terms of my business and my brand. That's another training for another time, but I want you to think about, do you know why you're selling what you're selling? It's a complicated one, but sometimes even just taking that time and writing things out of like, what am I selling here? What am I here for? Who is this perfect for? What do people want to know about? So I'm going to leave it there. Feel free to DM me afterwards and let me know what you do. If I can help in any way, just shout. And let me know your takeaways and what's been useful. And if you're catching on the replay as well, I'm going to save it so you can watch it whenever you want. All right, I will see you very soon. Thanks for watching and listening and all that good stuff. Any questions, or if you want that training, it's called Designing Your Pricing Menu. It's on my website and I'll leave the link as well. Have a lovely day, whatever you're doing. Bye.